Welcome to another episode of Chad Sports Talks. Hey, I don't know, my name's Chad. Take a dive with sports. This is actually a request video from one of y'all out there that kind of requested me to kind of do this. This is a what if scenario. The WAC, the SWAC, and the ASUN all make the jump up to the FBS. Now, if you haven't been living underneath the rock, you may already know the WAC has relaunched their football aspects with aspirations of making it to the FBS one day. Sam Houston kind of jumped ahead and already made the move up. I don't think they're ready, and I still don't think they're ready, even though they made the move up. So I wish them the best of luck to get up there, because there's a lot of aspects in that university that still has to reach that plateau. So basically, I'm going to kind of do a quick rundown of some of these programs. Can give you my 2 cents on them and whether or not they'll be viable enough. I will use Sam Houston as a minimal requirement for stadium size to get in there, as a lot of these universities in these three conferences have extremely small stadiums, nowhere near FBS ready. And then beyond that, then the next group would be behind Jacksonville State, which at the time frame was a university that was pretty much the most ready of those two that got added to the Conference USA, even though they're just helping launch the ASUNs. Now the ASUNs are kind of in question with their football conference, but that's a different story altogether. And I'll start off with the SWAC. The SWAC got the most attention because every time everyone does these conference realignment videos, especially me, no one seems to go after the SWAC schools. And only one of them, at the time, I don't remember the SWAC, actually attempted to move up to the FBS level and then back out the year prior to them actually moving. That was Florida A&M. It's not saying that they don't have the talent or the resources or the budgets to compete with the big boys. But I think there's special arrangement they have going on right now at the FCS level, and their unique status, I want to say, in college football, that they may not have that same prestige moving up into the FBS. Definitely have a rabid fan base, there's no question about that. Outside of that region, outside that demographic, not many people won't really worry about the SWAC. Right now, they're only in the forefront because right now of Deion Sanders being the coach at Jackson State. Prior to that, it was Aaron McNair at Alcorn State that brought the attention to the SWAC. And everybody knows about Southern Grambling because of the Bayou Classic Showdown played nationally on TV. So there's another thing's kind of thrown out there that not many people are really going to gravitate to, even though Walter Payton, Jerry Rice are alums out of this conference, as well as, like I said, Steve McNair. And there's not that many people outside, like I said, those region, that area, that's going to really flock to these universities. And to say these are very passionate fans, it's some of a bummer, really. But in terms of the 12 members that are in there currently, yes, there are 12 members in the SWAC. And I'm going to touch upon each one, kind of let you know, how I think they are ready for the next level. So right now, only 2 universities do not meet that Sam Houston level for a capacity for their stadiums. And they have 2 of them just at above 10,000. That's Mississippi Valley State and Bethlehem-Cookman. Both these are, like I said, 10,000. Bethlehem-Cookman right there. They're in Daytona, Mississippi Valley, great state of Mississippi. So it's kind of shocking that these universities are that particular spot. Other ones that haven't quite reached the Jacksonville State plateau of 24. Prairie View A&M at 15. Arkansas Pine Bluff at 16. Grambling's at 19. Alcorn State's 22. Alabama A&M's at 21. And then Texas Southern's at 22. So I think most of those could be fixed up pretty well. Grant Bay probably could go to like Shreveport and play an Independence Bowl, or share the decks with Louisiana Tech as they increase stadium size there. Maybe the Mississippi schools could go to start playing in Jackson with their huge Veterans Memorial there at 62,000. But all in all, for stadium size, it's not really a requirement anymore for the FBS level, but I think it's a good indication that you're ready for that next level when you have that, at least a 20,000 plus seat stadium. And right now, 4 or 5, don't meet that quite yet. But it's not saying that they can't compete. Some of these schools actually have a higher athletic budget than some FBS programs. Of course, these are FBS programs in the Sun Belt and Conference USA. So, but like I said, it's not going to be a determining factor whether or not this conference can make it. I know I'm kind of hampering on SWAC for their specific, I guess, demographic and footprint, but it's very similar to what the MAC is right now. The MAC, not many outside of MAC Nation really cares about the MAC until they get those really great teams that get double-digit wins and try to get into the get a New Year's Six bid. I mean, that's the only time anyone cares about the MAC. So, so I get that aspect. So, in terms, do I think the SWAC as a whole can make it? I'm leaning towards yes. But a lot of these universities need a lot of help to increase that capacity to get more fans in there, which means more money. And the old saying goes, you got to spend money to make money. It never really made sense to me until I started doing other things around it and noticed that sometimes you have to spend a little money to make money. In the long run, you'll meet your what you invested in, and then that's when you start making a profit. And I think these universities can do that. There's no question about that, especially if they stick together to what they do. It's just because their scheduling is already like the FBS programs already, because they schedule deep into the calendar year, right into the FCS playoffs. That's why the SWAC abstains from there unless their number 3 school gets selected as an at-large, because their top 2 teams compete for the SWAC title, and then they go into the Celebration Bowl, take on the MEAC. So the MEAC champion and the SWAC top 2 abstain from the FCS playoffs, compete in a quote-unquote HBCU championship game. If the SWAC moves up, that Celebration Bowl is gone. That's not going to happen. They're not going to allow a FBS program to take on FCS program in the bowl game, regardless of the history and the notoriety that the game kind of produces. The MEAC will probably just go, okay, well, it'll be us against either, maybe Hampton, Tennessee State, North Carolina A&T, schools that are no longer in the MEAC, they're outside in other conferences. If they're not selected to FCS, can go there if somewhat eligible. Or you just scrap the whole bowl game whatsoever, and the MEAC becomes a full participant in FCS playoffs. I mean, there's so many different layers to go with this scenario. That's why I think a lot of people kind of not tackle the possibility of the SWAC moving up because of that. Because, like I said, their unique status, what they have in the FCS and in the college football landscape. Just like the Ivy schools, I mean, they're a special group as well. That stick to a 10-game schedule, period, regardless of what everyone else in college football is doing. Ivy's doing their thing. The SWAC does their thing. And like I said, do I think they can make it in the FBS level? I do. Will they make the jump? Probably not. But it's not a for sure thing that they won't. I think there's a lot of rumblings floating out there of them making the move up. So that aspect, I think if they do make the move up, it's going to be all 12 members. They'll find ways to get the money generated for these schools to start investing in their facilities to raise up the level, especially seating capacity of some of these stadiums. Partially like Bethlehem Cookman and Mississippi Valley State doubling in size. They really attract the fans. But they may not have. Some of them may have a hard time filling the stadiums. Some of them may not. So it's all filling out there. But if they like I said, if they do, it's going to be all hands on deck, and be a whole 12 members. Now we go for the one that really kind of started this whole process of looking at this, and that's the WAC. The WAC has returned to football this past year. They kind of created a joint venture with the ASUN. So we got the WAC ASUN Challenge, or the AQ7 Conference. This is kind of somewhat known in the FCS. And with this conference, this is a widespread conference if you actually take all the members in there. Because you got to think, when the WAC started to go after this, they went after Southland and grabbed the Texas Four, as is verbally called, Sam Houston, Lamar, Abilene Christian, and Stephen F. Austin, until Sam Houston decided to leave them behind. And UIW has been tapped to fill the role. You also got the two schools moving from D2, which was at Dixie State, who will be known as Utah Tech, and Tarleton. Both these schools are in the middle of their D2 transition. And then Southern Utah moving over from the Big Sky. You also have the basketball members of Seattle, California Baptist, Utah Valley, and Grand Canyon. Going to give them a 12-member conference. So you said these schools move up. In terms of that, and not to mention Texas Rio Grande Valley, who's also a basketball member right now, but they have aspirations of starting a football program no later than 2024. So looking at that Sam Houston minimum requirement, say 13,000, only 2 universities actually exceed that. Lamar at 16 and Stephen F. Austin at 14. So yeah, these got some very, very small stadiums. Now UIW currently plays in a 6,000 capacity stadium, but they could split or share, should I say, the Alamo Dome with UTSA. That's a very high probability, and should be no really big issue with that, since it's a field turf in there. You can just switch out the end zone designs for the Roadrunners and then the Cardinals. So I think UIW definitely be ready. Abilene Christian's only at 12. Tarleton, Utah Tech, both at 10. Southern Utah, 8,000. So their capacity size is nowhere near ready. And then with Rio Grande Valley, no stadium has been identified yet, but I did find that there is HB Park down there in Edinburgh, Texas, that's home to the Rio Grande Valley Football Club, the USL. So a soccer-specific stadium that could be used for college football with a capacity of 9,700. So they give them a decent-sized stadium right from the get-go, probably fit right there with the build. So like I said, looking at this conference, there's not that many. As far as the basketball programs, if the WAC does make the move up, I see the three of the 4 Western basketball schools leaving and joining the West Coast Conference, because Seattle, California Baptist, and Grand Canyon are all private religious institutions. And that's what the West Coast Conference is a private religious institution-based conference. And Seattle was once a member of the West Coast before dropping down and then finally coming back up. And when the West Coast losing BYU, I can really see that one happening. Kind of, build up that prestige. Kind of give Seattle goes right there in the Northwest with Gonzaga and Portland, helps them out. Grand Canyon be kind of like the oddball, pretty much how BYU was. So I kind of see that one kind of happening with that particular aspect, which means I think Utah Valley would stay, and then let's try to grab another basketball program. And I just tapped Texas Arlington because it just made sense regionally. They're right there. There's already rumors of them trying, Missouri Valley trying to court them to move up. Because the friends of the Sun Belt, they already lost Little Rock to the Ohio Valley. So I think Texas Arlington's time frame in the Sun Belt's limited, so them going to the WAC, I don't think it's far-fetched. And they used to be part of the WAC, so why not? On the ASUN. The ASUN right now is a very unique position because they only have, after Jacksonville State leaves, only 5 members in that conference for football. To be a conference in the FCS level, you have to have 6. So there's still questions about who's going to be that 6th member. I've been asked this question before. There's a couple scenarios they can do. They can kind of get Stetson, who is a member of that conference, has a football program, but it's a non-scholarship sport, which means they participate in the Pioneer Football League. And if Stetson starts offering scholarships to their football players, and then they can transition into the ASUN as a full member with football as well. But when your football program is a non-scholarship football program, it takes a while to build up the prestige to really be able to. And there, Austin Peay is a prime example. They used to be part of that, and now look where they're at now. They're really starting to really push. And in terms of stadium size, only one. Actually, 2. I'll go 2. 2 of the 5 that sponsor football meet the Sam Houston requirement, and that is Eastern Kentucky at 20,000 and North Alabama at 14. North Alabama is still also a D2 program, still in transition. I think they're towards the tail end of that. Eastern Kentucky has been somewhat whispered to be a part of the MAC at one point in time. There's rumors of them being added there. Just nothing really, no official word on them moving up. So it just never seemed to transpire. And look at the other universities. Austin Peay, Central Arkansas, both around the 10,000 mark. Kennesaw State's at 8. So there's definitely some stadium issues they're kind of worried about. I think with Central Arkansas, they could just go right down the road into Little Rock and play at the Veteran Memorial there. Austin Peay, maybe be able to share the digs a little bit. Western Kentucky, maybe, until they can get enough, and maybe Kennesaw go in Atlanta. Maybe join up with Georgia State or go to the Falcons, Mercedes-Benz Dome and play, but those scenarios are highly unlucky as well. And at the ASUN, and then you also got to think of the basketball members they have. They got Bellamar, Lipscomb, Jacksonville, North Florida, Florida Gulf Coast, and the aforementioned Stetson. So they have 6 programs that are there for basketball, 5 that's also support football. So it's an 11-member conference. And with this one, I don't think the ASUN itself will move up. So there's a difference in causeways that kind of go in this one. So I've already said if the SWAC goes, they all go. So there'll be no issues, no realignment or anything like that. They got this very unique footprint right there along the Gulf Coast. And that's all them. But for the WAC and the ASUN, now for the ASUN itself, like I said, we have 6 basketball members and then 5 that also support football, create that 11-member conference. the football members go, the 6 basketball members stay. So, I think that's going to happen. So the 6 basketball members stay. ASUN's aspirations of creating a football conference goes out the window. They get smacked around, and this could lead to further instability in this conference, a possible collapse, and the members getting scattered across, the other landscapes of Missouri Valley, Ohio Valley, Big South, Southern. You name that conference, that region, and you probably see members going there. So there's one thing you kind of look out if this happens. ASUN's probably going to go away after a few years of this happening. And if these 3 conferences do move, it won't be until the college football playoff actually expands. Because that's the only way they really, I think, possibly get a chance to make the move up. And it probably won't happen at least 2025, I think. Things like the year these conferences could make the move up, which if they start saying, hey, at this time frame we're doing this way it gives these universities some chances to start increasing athletic budget, increasing capacity size of facilities, maybe get more facilities, maybe get some more sports across the both men's and women's athletic department, because you need a certain level of athletics to be the FBS level. So there's a lot of things that kind of go along with that. But like I said, with the WAC, let's go back to kind of go back and forth between the WAC and ASUN, because I think they're both kind of intertwined with this one. No, they won't be a joint venture, but they'll have a kind of a unique aspect when it comes to Conference USA. And this is where things will kind of see things kind of go awry. So let's just say we just skip all the formalities and all the stadiums are fine, athletic budgets are fine, the athletics are fine. They all 3 conferences make the move up. Like I said, the SWAC moves up. There's no change, anything. They show up, same thing they had before, and they just move forward. And there they go. The SWAC will be fine, just the way it is. For a WAC, like I said, the 3 religious institutions out west will leave for the West Coast to bring in Texas Arlington, replace them. So they have their 8 football members plus their 2 basketballs, so it's a 10-member conference. And if the WAC moves up, I would say that New Mexico State and UTEP will go back to the WAC. They'll do this for saving money on their athletics travel cost, because being in Conference USA, they're the 2 furthest west schools in that conference, and the first east schools are Liberty and FIU, so they can cut down that travel cost and still stay within Texas. And as far as you can go is Utah. So I think that's a cheaper aspect for them. They'll look at that. They'll still keep the rivalry going. And they'll be the in-between between the Utah and Texas. So I think that's very viable for them to do that. And I don't think there's going to be much issues in terms of these guys in that aspect. So now we'll leave Conference USA with 7. What's the best way to fill those numbers? The 5 coming up from the ASUN. So Conference USA would then add Austin Peay, Central Arkansas, Kennesaw State, and North Alabama and Eastern Kentucky. Well, I just had couldn't think of the schools. Then if you look at Conference USA and where all these schools are situated, this is going to be a very centralized conference between Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama. That's where a majority of your schools are at. So your outliers would be, of course, Liberty, FIU will always be outliers. And then Central Arkansas, Louisiana Tech, and Sam Houston. But, you kind of shrink it down a little bit. You get rid of that El Paso, La Cruces demographic. You switch it more towards that Houston region. So now your window's a little shorter now. And I think it's going to be a very viable conference in this warehouse kind of set up. And there you have it. I mean, is it pretty? No. Is it viable? Possibly. Is it going to happen? Who knows? When it comes to college football, it's really hard to determine how these things kind of play out, if they're going to go this way, especially as a SWAC as a whole, as a conference. I mean, that's probably a big jump for a lot of those programs. Same thing with the WAC. Half of that conference is nowhere near ready for the FBS level. But, only time will tell, especially if the WAC is really, really serious on making this move. They're going to start pressuring these schools to really start building up their programs and their facilities and capacity to make sure that they're ready for the next level. And like I said, with these three, if the ASUN does move up, it's not going to be the ASUN. They're going to just move right into the Conference USA. Save that ship. Right now, the Conference USA itself is just a boat that has water, but they're pumping out the water the same amount as the water coming in, so they're maintaining their level. They're just waiting. I think the Conference USA is just a conference that's on the verge of implosion. But if the right programs get in there to help solidify this conference will, patch the holes, pump out all the excess water, and the boat would just move on probably faster than before. And that, from my book, will probably be jettisoning New Mexico State, UTEP, and adding ASUN schools. Get you to 12, you're more centralized, more streamlined. These schools will have more hate for each other, greater rivalries. I mean, especially at Jacksonville State and Kennesaw State right there. You still got Western Kentucky and Middle Tennessee, Austin Peay, Eastern Kentucky. You do Central Arkansas with Louisiana Tech, Sam Houston. I mean, there's possibilities there. And like I said, for the WAC, they'll pick up the New Mexico State, UTEP, kind of be the go-between between the Utah and Texas schools. So I see that one happening. But, it all depends. I mean, I think it deals with the expansion of the college football playoff. If they get to 12, you might see more schools try to make the move up. And then, make sure, like I said, the money goes pouring into the athletic departments to get the right amount of sports in, increase the capacity size of their facilities. So, like I said, there it is. I mean, it's a unique aspect to kind of go into that one to kind of see what happens with certain programs and see how things kind of play out. With the WAC losing their three West Coast-ish programs, does it really hurt them? No. I think the WAC's kind of moving towards more of a Southwest type of vibe conference, so I think if they concentrate there, they'll be all right. And just let me know what you think. Is this perfect? By no means. And there's just like so many different layers coming in, especially with the SWAC and their what they have set up already, especially with the MEAC and the Celebration Bowl. There's too much going on with that, so. Do I think the SWAC's will make the move up? Probably not. The WAC, as it stands right now, no. Could they do it in about 5 years? Maybe. The ASUN, could that conference move up? I would lean no as it stands, but unless the football members break off and join Conference USA, then yes. It's convoluted at best. I mean, it's not a clear-cut answer, and it's hard to really predict the future. It really is. But hey, let me know what you think. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Just let me know. I can take it. I've proven myself that I accept that I've not perfect when it comes to these type of scenarios. And let me know what you would do differently. Do you think these conferences are viable to move up? If they are, how soon do you think they can do it? And while you're there, you can smash that thumbs up for me, especially if you like this content and the entertainment I provide you. Really please YouTube out so the algorithms out promotes this channel. You can also subscribe. And once you subscribe, you hit that bell notification. Let you know next time I post a video. And I'll see you next time on Chat Sports Talk.